Hi everybody, this is Dr. Lewis, Coast to Wellness in Lisbon, and I want to talk briefly today about, that was a very Canadian way of saying it, about posture. Oftentimes, people might come through the door and be concerned about a slight change in their posture, or a difference in their posture, or an imbalance in their posture. That might be one shoulder slightly lower than the other. Maybe they have slight more muscular development on the opposite side. Maybe they have slight or more hyperkyphosis of the thoracic spine. Maybe they have an anterior pelvic tilt, and they might have some pain that are going along with these things. They might have been told that that pain is because of that posture. And I'm not one to kind of encourage this way of thinking. I'm much more a proponent for evaluating for movement capacity and talking more about the habits that might be leading them down a poor road. But subtle changes in posture or even differences in posture, imbalances in our body are completely normal. It's very rare that somebody is completely balanced. Even our organs are slightly off center, one side versus the other. The heart slightly more to the left side, the liver more to the right side. And so this obviously will dictate even the dominance of our body at one side of if we're playing lateral-sided sports or dominant-sided sports. Soccer, where we're kicking more with one leg, oftentimes our right hand being the dominant hand, we might be opening doors more often with that side. Of course, we're going to create differences in muscle strength and muscle hypertrophy, one side of our body versus the other, and all the habits that go along with that. If we're sitting at a desk like this for years on end, writing with one arm, of course we might have differences in our posture on one side versus the other, just because of how much time we spend in certain positions. But I want to encourage people to kind of get away from that thinking of that subtle changes in posture, little differences in posture are extremely bad and need to be corrected. I know there's an aesthetic kind of influence here in society that we should be balanced and balance looks better. But it's so rare that somebody is completely balanced, and the need for that has just not been proven through any form of research. One thing I want people to understand is that we should have good movement of joints. Joints should be able to move through a nice full range of motion and should be able to move in the ways that we need them to for our day-to-day lives and the activities that we do on a day-to-day basis. If we want to be able to bend down and pick up our kids until we're old, we might want to have good mobility through our spine, through our hips. If we want to be able to get things off the top shelf at the grocery store or our home. We might want to be able to have our good shoulder mobility and thoracic extension. And so there are requirements for our body in terms of mobility and movement. But in terms of posture and static posture, I don't want to put a lot of emphasis on this for people, because it can lead down this road of almost a futile road of trying to change it. We want to focus a little bit more on our ability to move, and oftentimes posture will improve if we start to improve our ability to move and our ability to be strong in different positions. But the static posture change, like a little bit of thoracic kyphosis, or this is not necessarily something that needs to be obsessed over or corrected for general health purposes. Hopefully that's somewhat enlightening. Focusing on movement is much more important. Movement is one of the things that adds nutrients to the joints, recycles fluid in those joints, the synovial fluid, helps with blood flow. If we don't have good movement, of course we can get there can be consequences to that. Our ability to do what we want to do can be affected, and it can lead to degeneration in certain areas. So we want to make sure our joints move well. We want to make sure we're strong. We want to make sure that we have a nice balanced lifestyle. But obsessing over posture is definitely not something that I try to encourage people to do. I try to get people away from that line of thinking. And yeah. Anyway, have a good week, everybody. Send us any questions related to posture that you might have, and I'll try to get back to you about them. All right, see ya.